Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science, First Center, Religious Science. Good morning, everyone who's signing in on Zoom. Good afternoon if you're watching us on the rebroadcast. And good evening, depending upon where you are, wherever you're tuning in from. So, no matter how you're watching us today, I want to welcome you. We're grateful that you're a part of what we do here, part of our ever-growing community. We are a place of inclusion, a place of inspiration and empowerment. Each week we come together to explore principles of spiritual growth and practical wisdom. Principles and practices that you can apply in your life right away. So please say hello today in the chat. If you're using your computers, and you could say where you're from, and you can comment on people's sharing or the lesson. It's always amazing for us to see how our community is expanding. It's fun to see where people are signing in from all over, from everywhere. Each week we have three main broadcasts: the Sunday morning, which started today at 10:45 with our meditation, and now our lesson. Every Wednesday, Jimmy facilitates our Creative Living series. That's at 7 o'clock. It's the same Zoom links for Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday is our Louise class, our self-healing class, which are largely based on her work. And that's 7 o'clock also. So that class is particularly good. It's a place where we dive deep into her teachings that will help us grow, heal, and thrive. All of our gatherings are available on the Zoom platform, same links again, and we're also on Facebook and YouTube. So everything we do can be watched 24 hours a day. So if you're ever having one of those days and you need some extra support, go to the Facebook or the YouTube channel. It would be really great if you do use YouTube, go to our channel, and it helps us if you like and you comment. It will help us quite a bit. So that's one way of supporting the center. So if you use YouTube, please join our channel. That will help us grow a lot. We're grateful for any support, your commentary. We're grateful for your financial support. There's always options in the chat room where you can share, as Raymond Charles Barker said, your happy money. He was the founding minister of First Church. We say that we are supplied and supported, and we are. And some of you are regular contributors, and we really appreciate it. But the main thing is that you're here. And every time a few of you are here, a few more, and you grow, and you're healing your lives, you're helping the world, you're helping yourself, and we're growing. We know we're supplied and supported. And that being said, I do want to say thank you to all of you who do support our work in any way you do. And no gift is too small. So do what you can. Jimmy or the technicians usually float the church address, which is 204 West 84th Street, in the chat room. I'm sure they're going to do it right now. 204 West 84th Street, New York, New York, and that's 10024. 10024. So that being said, thank you again. And let's get into the lesson. I want to start with a poem that I found, and I like it, but I thought I had to listen to it twice. So hopefully you'll like it too. It's by David Whyte, Whyte, and I'm just taking an excerpt because it will help introduce today's talk, which is about reversing failure patterns. So it's entitled Start Close In. Again, start close in. So before we get into the talk, again, I want to share it. It's by David Whyte. Let his words settle into your heart as we consider what they're inviting us to do today. Start close in. And here it is. Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing. Close in. The step you don't want to take. Start with that. Start with the ground you know. Start with the pale ground beneath your feet, your own way to begin the conversation. Take a moment to breathe that in. White's words remind us that change, real and lasting change, starts not with the giant leaps, but with the first small, courageous step. So he says, start with the ground you know. Start with the step you don't want to take. Start with the first thing. Close in. So today, I want to talk about reversing failure patterns, taking steps that we don't want to take sometimes, the step that's inconvenient, the step that's uncomfortable or unfamiliar. And that's always going to be where transformation begins, on the pale ground beneath your feet, in the small but profound decision to face the truth of where you are and begin anyway, even if things are really messy and even if things are really rough. Facing the truth of where you are and beginning anyway. This idea applies to the patterns that are in our lives, especially patterns that would suggest that we're not okay, or patterns that make us feel like we're failures in some way. Because breaking free from these kind of patterns doesn't happen all at once, usually. It starts, as Wyatt says, close in. So today, as we're talking about patterns, we're going to be talking about reversing failure patterns. I originally had this talk from Dr. Bill some 30 years ago, and he was talking about failure patterns, and I listened to it, and I thought, kind of negative, a little bit sarcastic. And I thought, well, I can do the same talk. It's just I can talk about reversing these patterns. So we all have patterns. I would think it's safe to say. Is that true? I'm asking you, all of you. I know I have work to do. I mean, I have minister friends who tell me that they're always working on themselves, and I think that's, we're spiritual beings. We're here, as Dr. Bill used to say, to learn and to grow. We're all here learning and growing, and we're evolving. So I think it's safe to say, I don't like to speak for other people, but we all have work to do. Most of us, at least, would admit that. We have things that we're still working on. We're miracles in progress. And we have this internal dialogue that you'll hear me talk about most every week. And our internal dialogue is usually a mixed bag of thoughts, patterns, habits, ways of doing things, ways of thinking about things. And this internal dialogue is made up of things that, that we're not even aware of, that we're not even consciously thinking about. We do all kinds of things by habit. You might notice each day you brush your teeth in a certain way each day, or how you have patterns when you're driving your car, you're taking a subway, you're driving your car and someone cuts you off in traffic. You'll notice what you do. And some of the patterns we have serve us. Some of the patterns guide us towards success. We have some patterns that are very, very helpful. So patterns can be good. They can bring us to success, joy, and fulfillment. But there's other patterns, well, not so much. They don't bring us where we want to go. Other patterns we have can act like invisible barriers. These barriers can keep us stuck in cycles of frustration and disappointment. If we keep doing the same thing, right? And if it's not working, we keep doing it. And so imagine someone who's a walking contradiction, a blend of self-doubt and rigid routine. Today we're going to call this person Steve for the purposes of this lesson. He's a hypothetical person. I'm going to use him in the lesson today a bit. A teaching example to help us explore how patterns shape our lives. So this character, Steve, desperately wants a better life, like most of us. But his habits and beliefs keep pulling him back into the same old pattern. So Steve is all about self-sabotage. He doesn't know he is, because he desperately wants a better life. Again, but what stops him? Habits and beliefs that keep pulling him back into the same old patterns. It's kind of like if you're in your car, you have your foot pressed on the gas pedal, that's one foot, while keeping the other firmly on the brake. See, Steve believes he's not worth much, and he has this, and that belief has turned into an invisible script. And that script, I'm not good enough, is guiding his life in one way or another. Like most of us, Steve is fond of his habits. They give him a sense of control, his routine. But when those habits are built on self-defeating beliefs, they're self-defeating. They become a trap. So here's the problem. When the habits are rooted in self-defeating beliefs, they often lead to cycles of failure, no matter how hard we try to break free of them. So that brings us to focus on today's message. We want to learn how to reprogram our inner operating system that I've been talking about a little bit. And I was thinking about it last week. Not everyone even knows what a GPS is, so let me explain what this metaphor means. A GPS is called a global positioning system. They're in your cars. They're in your apps. I don't know if everyone realizes it or not. So we all have this internal guidance system that I talk about all the time, but the metaphor I'm using today is global positioning system, GPS. It's a navigation tool, again, like the one you have in your car that now will take you wherever you want to go. It will help guide you to a destination by mapping out the best route. Now, if our friend Steve, if his inner belief is set to failure, it's like programming his GPS to lead him to the wrong destination. Every single time, if his inner guidance system is set to failure, it's going to lead him where? It's going to lead him to the wrong destination every single time. Even if he tries a different route, that GPS will stubbornly reroute him right back to where he started. So the solution is, of course, reprogramming the GPS. And that's really the inner work that we do here. See, a lot of people do the work on the outside. They go out and try to save the world. I learned all through my life, it never works that way. In recovery circles, they'll say recovery is an inside job. In Science of Mind, they will say we do our work in mind. We do our work in consciousness. So it's much, much more important that you get a handle on your consciousness, your thoughts. And this is the intentional act of resetting your beliefs and your patterns. And when we're talking about a GPS, we're doing that so the guidance system within will start leading us towards success, fulfillment, and joy. What if instead of blindly following the old programming, our friend Steve stopped? He just stopped and asked himself, where do I really want to go in my life? What do I want to do with my life? And what belief will take me there? See, this brings us to a call for awareness. What if instead of wearing that metaphorical t-shirt or following an outdated GPS, Steve woke up one day and said, I'm an adult now. I'm the master of my own fate. I'm the author of my own experience. My patterns are mine to change. What if we woke up tomorrow or today and we affirmed, my patterns are mine to change? Now that's a bold move, taking responsibility for your life, but it's the first step towards reversing failure patterns. You have the power. You have the power. Louise reminded us by saying, you can heal your life. You have the power to heal your life. And you need to know that. See, a lot of people are looking for people outside of them. I try to counter that with many different things. You'll see I weave into lessons. One I like, in truth, there's nothing outside of you. We have the ability to invite spirit into our awareness. And we are one with the one, and we can move through anything. Again, you can heal your life. You have the power to do so, and you need to know that, is what Louise said. We think so often that we're helpless, and we talk about what's going wrong in politics and the world, and we seem to be programmed to all of that. But you're not. You're not helpless. You're anything but helpless. You are one with power. You are an individualization of it. So we always have the power of our minds, our consciousness. So today I'm suggesting that you affirm that you know that you're one with this one, and claim this power, and affirm that you're going to use your power, and you're going to release the need to go there. There means towards any of those stories that we keep, like that GPS, we keep going back to those stories, and it's like we don't have to. So I'm hoping these metaphors work a little bit for you. The moment our friend Steve realizes he's not stuck in his patterns, he begins to reclaim his life. Reversing the failure patterns is not about blame. It's never about blame. It's about empowerment. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, I see you. I see what you've been through too. And I see now that you're ready to do things differently. I see that you're ready to make a change, to take the positive approach that Louise spoke about. So now as I look into the Zoom call, and to all of you who are listening, I ask the question back to you. Have you noticed any patterns in your own life? I know I have. Have you noticed patterns? Maybe it could be procrastinating, or putting your dreams on hold and putting other people first. Maybe a pattern could be avoiding difficult conversations. Maybe it could be overspending or overdoing something. Maybe you're caretaking too much. Usually it's someone doing things that they're not really comfortable with. Have you noticed anything, or does anything come up for you as I ask the question? Is there some area in your life where you feel stressed? And the question here isn't why these patterns exist. It's what belief is keeping them alive in you. So let's take a moment to reflect. If something comes up, what one pattern in your life is there that causes you to feel stuck? Where, if anywhere, do you feel stuck, if you do? And ask yourself, what might I believe about myself? And what belief is keeping this pattern in place? Louise would say the bottom line for everyone is they don't feel good enough about themselves or adequate in some way. So if there's any area where you feel stuck, ask yourself again, what do I believe about myself? What belief can I identify that's keeping this pattern in place? And of course, this will bring us to the topic of destructive patterns and inner beliefs. Now that we've seen how patterns work a little bit, like Steve's can guide his life, let's talk about what's beneath the surface. Let's talk about the beliefs driving those patterns. And more importantly, how we can begin reversing them. Here's the thing to understand. Our patterns don't show up randomly. They're mind's clever way of fulfilling a need, even if that need doesn't serve our highest good. Let me explain. If Steve believes I deserve pain, his life will find a way to make that belief a reality. It might look like staying in unhealthy relationships, or it might look like taking jobs where he's undervalued, or even creating chaos just to feel what's familiar. But here's the key to reversing a failure pattern. Understanding that the behavior we see is the tip of the iceberg. It isn't the real problem. It's not the behavior. The real work always lies in uncovering and transforming the belief beneath the surface, the one that keeps the behavior alive. I can give you one more quick example, one more story. Let's say we have a person who's a shopaholic, or they shop a lot. They overspend every time. They're stressed. Now, on the surface, it looks like it's a simple habit. Like, I'm stressed, so I go to the store, I go to Macy's, or I go to Amazon, or wherever it is. But if we go deeper, we might uncover a belief like, I don't feel safe, so I need to surround myself with things that make me feel comfortable or secure. The shopping isn't really the issue. It's the belief that's driving it. So here's the part that's a little bit tricky. Even if the person were to stop shopping, that underlying belief doesn't just go away. If left unexamined, it will find a new outlet. Could be something else. Could be overeating. Could be working out too much. Could be working too much. It could be isolating themselves. The pattern might change its form, but the belief remains. It remains the same until it's addressed. So that's why that poem was helpful today. Start close in. Start where you are. Start with the difficult thing first. Louise teaches us every thought we think is creating our future. So let's think about that for just a moment. If our thoughts are the foundation of our lives, which they are, then our beliefs are the architects. Beliefs shape how we see the world and how we show up in it. If you believe deep down that you're unworthy of love, for example, every decision you're going to make is going to reflect that you're unworthy. And you're going to self-sabotage even if you don't realize it. That's why Louise was trying to get at these underlying patterns. But here's the good news. Beliefs are not permanent. They're like old software running in the background. And here's the thing we've learned about software recently. We can update the program at any time. It might help you think of these beliefs as backpacks that we carry through life. So imagine yourself with a backpack, hopefully a light one. Some backpacks are light, filled with helpful tools. Helpful tools could be self-confidence, optimism, right? Feeling good about yourself. Other backpacks are heavy, weighed down with fear, doubt, self-doubt, past hurts, grievances. So let's imagine our character Steve again, who we've been talking about today, carrying a backpack, so stuffed with I'm not good enough, so stuffed with regret and all kinds of things. He can barely move as he walks. It's so heavy. Every step feels like a struggle because the belief is dragging him down. But here's the twist. Steve doesn't realize he can take the backpack off. He's been carrying it for so long, it feels like it's a part of him. He doesn't realize how simple it would be to take it off. So let's look at ourselves. What about our metaphorical backpacks? What are you carrying around that you could release, that you could lighten the load? What are you carrying around that might be holding you back? What comes to mind? What is Spirit revealing to you today? Because here's the thing, the whole universe is conspiring for your good. If you're here by divine appointment. You're hearing these words, and you're getting this message at the perfect time. Again, the whole universe is conspiring for your good. What are you carrying around that might be holding you back? Just think about it. Be gentle with yourself. What comes to mind? What if our friend Steve decided to lighten his load? He might start by asking himself, where did this belief come from? Why am I thinking this way? Where did this come from? Is this belief even mine? Sometimes the beliefs we carry aren't ours at all. I noticed that at some point in my life. I was repeating a lot of stuff that came from my parents, and I started to examine. I thought, I don't really believe this stuff. So back to our friend Steve, because he's part of the lesson. What if he decided to lighten his load by asking himself those questions? Where did this come from? How is this serving me? Is this belief true? Is it mine? Because again, sometimes the beliefs we carry aren't really ours at all. They're just repetitive thoughts. It was Socrates that said the unexamined life isn't worth living. So we're always in this teaching asking us to take these inventories like the people in recovery do as well. Just take a look at what works for your highest and best and what doesn't. So with our backpacks, the heavy ones in particular, let's think about lightening that load, asking ourselves, where did this come from? Is this something I really want? Is it even mine? Maybe it came from a parent, a teacher, even society, because there's that whole group consciousness. The moment Steve realizes, hey, once he realized that this isn't his belief, he says, hey, I don't have to carry this around anymore. The moment he realizes that there's a choice here, he takes the very first step towards freedom, right close, like that poem said. As soon as you start to realize this isn't working for you, for your highest and best, you're going to take your first step toward freedom. Louise Hay reminds us, remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Imagine the relief of setting down a heavy belief that you have carried around for years. It's like breathing fresh air for the first time or in a long time. So let's pause again for a moment. Let's see what comes up for you when I ask again, what's one belief that you've been carrying around that might not be helping you? Take a breath and ask yourself, where did this one come from? Where did this idea come from? See what comes up for you. And then ask yourself, is it still true for me, or this belief? And then what would it feel like to let it go? And know that just by asking these questions and allowing your mind, allowing whatever information comes forward, just by doing it, you're already beginning to shift. The very act of questioning invites change. It cracks open the door to new possibilities. And here's something important to remember. Your beliefs shape your patterns, but they don't define who you are. You, everyone on this call, are so much more than the sum of your past thoughts or habits. You are each individualizations of infinite energy. Individualizations, points of power in the mind of God. So know always that you're more than all of these things that we're talking about. You are an expression of the infinite creative energy of the universe. As Ernest Holmes might say, you are an individualization of this powerful, limitless source. This means that no matter how long a pattern has been in place, it can be rewritten. As a friend of mine who's a judge in Florida often said, the final chapter has not been written. So you're in the right place, right time, and you have the power to turn it all around. You can choose new thoughts, you can live in new moments, you can create new beliefs, and you can step into a new way of living. You have the power to rewrite the script. That power has always been within you, by the way. Again, you can be in a new moment where everything can change if you really want to. Imagine now Steve as a puppet with strings attached to his thoughts. Strings attached to his thoughts, beliefs, and circumstances. As long as he gives his power away to fear, to blame, to old habits, something or someone or something else is pulling those strings. Now, if you'll picture Steve cutting those strings one by one, with each snip, he feels lighter, freer, and more in control. He's no longer a puppet. He is the puppeteer. What about you? Are there any strings in your life? Strings that you are now ready to cut? Reclaiming power is a process. That's why people who tune in regularly, people who tune in every week or as often as they can, and keep working at it, are having demonstrations. So my question for you all today is, are there any strings in your life that you're ready to cut? It starts again with a simple question. If I'm not in charge of my life, who is? Again, if I'm not in charge of my life, who is? The truth is, when we give our power away, whether to fear, resentment, anger, or blame, we're also giving away our freedom. But the very moment we say, this is my life and I'm responsible for it, everything begins to change. Again, the moment we say, this is my life and I'm responsible for it, everything begins to change. Louise Hay reminds us that we can heal our life, that we have the power to heal our life. And she said, and you need to know that. So I'm telling you what Louise said. You have the power to heal your life. And she said, you need to know that. Reclaiming your power often begins with small, intentional steps, which reminds me of our opening poem. Small, intentional steps. Sometimes it's setting boundaries with people or situations that drain your energy, or saying no to things that don't align with your goals. Affirming daily, I'm capable, I'm worthy, I'm in charge. Taking responsibility doesn't have to feel heavy or burdensome. It can actually be incredibly liberating. When we stop blaming ourselves, start loving ourselves more. When we stop this, when we stop blaming ourselves and we start owning our choices, we discover a sense of peace that might have felt out of reach before. As Rumi so beautifully said, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. I thought that was so beautiful. Let me repeat it. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I am changing myself. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a gift. It's the key to unlocking our freedom and stepping fully into our power. Imagine our friend Steve standing at the edge of his life's canvas, holding his paintbrush. With each new belief, each new thought, he paints a brighter picture. The same is true for everyone on this call, for all of us. When we choose to rewrite the inner dialogue, the inner script, we step into the fullness of who we are, authentic, empowered, and capable of lives that reflect our highest potential. So let's anchor this transformation today with affirmative prayer. I'll say it in the first person to claim this truth for ourselves. So taking a deep breath, I center myself in the knowing that I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm powerful. I release any beliefs, any patterns or masks that no longer serve me. And I step into this beautiful world and truth of who I am, a divine and unique expression of life. I choose thoughts that uplift and empower me. I see myself as a capable, worthy, and deserving being, deserving of every good thing. I claim my power to heal, to grow, to transform, knowing that every step forward brings me closer to my highest good. I trust the process of life. I trust myself. And I trust that everything I need is already there. With gratitude and love, I embrace this truth, and so it is. So there you have it. As we wrap up this portion of our gathering, as we shift into our sharing, this is a sacred time for all of us to reflect, to connect, and celebrate the insights that have come up for us today. Whether you feel called to share a thought, a breakthrough, or simply sit and listen, your presence with us is always a gift. Thank you for being part of our gathering today, or for listening afterwards. We love hearing from you, your comments, your thoughts. Thanks for showing up for yourself and for being part of this incredible community. So let me now turn the cameras over to all of you. We're looking forward to again, hearing from you. If you're new, please say hello, say where you're from, and you can also add this information in the chat as well. So thank you again.